The next part of the recovered radio log begins only seconds after the voices filled the bunker chamber. At first, the recording captures only heavy breathing, boots shifting across concrete, weapons being raised. Someone whispers a single word, "Sergeant." Then the sound changes. The microphones begin picking up something else. Movement. Not footsteps, not metal scraping. Something slower. Something crawling through the tunnels surrounding the chamber. What happened next was never fully explained, but the remaining radio recordings suggest the patrol had finally realized the truth about the bunker. The signal they followed into the valley had never been a distress call. It was bait. The soldiers stood frozen in the middle of the chamber. Flashlights swept across the pillars and catwalks above them. But the darkness between the beams seemed thicker now, deeper, almost alive. Keller stared at the radio scanner in his hands. The display was filled with signal markers, dozens of them, each one blinking across the screen. Every signal broadcasting the same frequency they had followed from the base. Mendez noticed it immediately. "That many transmitters?" Keller shook his head. "No, they're all the same signal." Mendez frowned. "That doesn't make sense." The radio crackled again. This time the voices speaking from the darkness were clearer. Too clear. Multiple tones layered together. Different soldiers, different accents, different voices, but all saying the same sentence. "You came looking for the signal." One of the soldiers whispered. "Sergeant, that's not possible." Mendez slowly turned toward the second tunnel. "Maybe it is." The voices continued speaking, not shouting, not threatening, just repeating the words like something rehearsing a line. "You came looking for the signal. You came looking for the signal." Then the sentence changed. "You always do." Keller swallowed. "What does that mean?" Before Mendez could answer, the radio scanner beeped again. A new signal appeared on the display, different from the others, stronger, coming from deeper underground. Keller pointed toward the far end of the chamber. "There's another tunnel." Mendez followed the direction of the scanner. Sure enough, a narrow passageway opened behind one of the support pillars. The entrance was partially collapsed. Dust and broken concrete covered the floor, but someone had cleared a path through the debris. Fresh footprints were visible in the dust, leading into the darkness. Mendez knelt down beside the prints. "They're military boots," one of the soldiers asked quietly. "Jackson's?" Mendez shook his head. "Too many." Keller stepped closer. "How many?" Mendez stood up slowly. "More than one patrol." The soldiers looked at each other. The bunker suddenly felt much larger than it had before. If other patrols had entered this place, where were they now? The voices answered that question almost immediately. From somewhere deep in the tunnels, a whisper echoed. "They're still here." Every flashlight swung toward the new tunnel entrance. The whisper continued. "You followed the signal, just like they did." Keller's hands tightened around the scanner. "What are you?" The chamber fell silent. For several seconds, nothing moved. Then the radio speaker crackled softly, and a single voice answered. Not Jackson's, not Keller's. Something deeper, something slower. "We are what the signal becomes." The soldiers stared into the tunnel. None of them understood what that meant. But Mendez seemed to realize something. He looked down at the equipment crates scattered around the chamber. The radios, the transmitters, the antenna parts. Then he looked back at Keller. This bunker wasn't abandoned. Keller nodded slowly. No, it was studied. Mendez's voice grew quieter. Someone found this place before we did. Someone tried to understand it. The radio voices responded immediately. They tried to stop us. Many times. The soldiers exchanged uneasy glances. One of them asked the question everyone was thinking. Stop what? The answer came from every direction at once. Transmission. Keller looked down at the scanner again. The signals were multiplying. Dozens, then hundreds. The blinking markers began spreading across the map. Not just inside the bunker, outside, across the valley, across the mountains. The radio speaker began repeating a new message, over and over again. The signal spreads. Mendez stared at the screen. That's not possible. Keller's voice was barely a whisper. It's learning. The chamber lights flickered again. For a moment, the entire room went dark. When the lights returned, something was standing on the upper catwalk. Tall, thin, its body looked almost human, but the limbs were too long, the posture too rigid, like a puppet trying to imitate the way a soldier moves. One of the soldiers raised his rifle. Sergeant? The figure tilted its head and spoke using Mendez's voice. You came looking for the signal. Then the creature stepped backward into the darkness above. The soldiers rushed toward the stairs leading to the catwalk, but by the time they reached the top, the walkway was empty. Only darkness stretched into the tunnels beyond. Keller's scanner began flashing again. The signal had moved, not deeper into the bunker, upward, toward the surface, toward the valley, toward the base. Keller looked at Mendez. Sergeant. Mendez didn't answer. He was staring at the radio screen. The transmission frequency had changed. It was no longer broadcasting only inside the bunker. It was transmitting across every military band in the region. Emergency frequencies, civilian channels, satellite relays. The signal was escaping, and the voices were still speaking. But now they sounded excited, like something discovering a new tool. You followed the signal. Now the signal follows you. The bunker lights flickered one final time, and from deep within the tunnels, something began climbing toward them.